Hey everybody, welcome to the On Deck podcast presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville. In just a bit, we'll be joined by Tyler Wiemann to go over some of your daily fantasy baseball projections. First, though, we're going to take a look at some weather for tonight's games. Now, there really is not much weather. 3 of the games are played in a dome, and weather tonight is not going to play much of a factor. Taking a look at Twins at Orioles, really nice temperatures, 74 degrees, just a 1% chance of rain, and 8-mile-an-hour winds left to right. Shouldn't have much of an impact there. Braves at Mets, 54 degrees, 24% chance of rain. A couple of drops of rain possible, but this game will be fine. 8-mile-an-hour winds in from center shouldn't have much of an impact, maybe slightly, but I think this will be minimal impact for the winds. Rays at A's, this will be 62 degrees, clear skies, 12-mile-an-hour winds left to right. Again, not much of a factor as far as weather is concerned. Now we welcome in Tyler Wiemann to go over some of our daily fantasy baseball projections. We'll also talk about our prop bets and our home run calls of the day. And speaking of home run calls, if you missed it, Friday, both of our home run calls were correct.
Yep, both went yard.
Yes, and I believe on Friday we also said at the end of the show that if we both
that you
got
were going to
home,
dance, right?
that we were going to
That
do a dance.
You were going to dance.
So we'll tease. Okay, we'll have the dance later in the show, maybe after our home run calls. So we'll try to see if we can get Tyler to, I don't know, do a little shimmy or something. Home run shimmy. So that'll be later in the show. But for right now, first of all, how was your weekend?
Weekend was great. What
You know
about
what
yours?
I did all weekend? I watched Ozark, and it was fantastic.
Yep, I need to catch up to you there, so don't spoil it.
And that wasn't the only thing that got me going this weekend. The other thing was the Yankees doing
They're
amazing,
playing well.
and Aaron Judge is just incredible right
Best record in baseball.
now. I'm feeling good about it right
Yeah.
now, but heading to Toronto today, so we'll see how they do. First, so let's get into some of our players today and our chalk report for the later games tonight, and taking a look at some of our highest owned pitchers. One of our favorites on the show is Marlins righty Pablo Lopez, who we lovingly refer to as
Live, laugh, love, Lopez.
Yes, because of the first time he was featured on this show, in his off day, the previous off day, he had just married his girlfriend, and we thought that was kind of awesome that, you know, he comes in the next game and just pitched lights out.
Yeah, he had
and
a great
he's
game
having
too.
An incredible career. Lights out, best ERA in baseball right now, 0.39 ERA, has only allowed 1 run this season. That was almost a month ago. So now he's on a scoreless inning streak that's 18 1/3 and has just been making guys look silly at the plate. What do you see from him today in his matchup against the Diamondbacks, who are bottom of the basement in terms of batting average?
Pretty much. It's a great matchup for him. Pablo obviously has been a very good pitcher. He has a good matchup. He has the highest K rate on the slate. It's a 2.8 implied total, so everything looks good for him. The one thing that I want to point out is in 25 plate attempts against Lopez, Arizona's hitting 273 with a 318 ISO, and they're only striking out 12% of the time. So they've done well against Lopez in the past. The other thing is that Lopez hasn't ever broken 20 DraftKings points against Arizona and 35 FanDuel points.
Interesting.
So Arizona hasn't been the easiest for him.
Yeah. So that's a good thing to note. You still like him though with what he's
Absolutely.
brought to the table this year specifically. He just seems like
he's the best pitcher on the slate
for
sure, and in the best matchup. But I want to bring up those things because it could be a little bit of a reason.
Something to take into consideration. How about Mets righty Chris Bassett, another good pitcher.
Yep.
Last time out, gave up just 2 hits in 6 innings pitched and 6 strikeouts for him. So when he goes up against the Braves tonight, what are you liking from his matchup?
Yeah, so he's been great all year, too. He has a low 3 FIP this year. The combined K rate's almost 25%. Then the Braves have been middle of the pack versus righties also. However, that was before Ronald Acuna, and he is now back. So that's probably going to bring them in the top 10 as far as what I'm guessing.
Because the Braves haven't been spectacular this
Totally,
season.
but they haven't been bad either.
Sure.
They've been hitting decently, and Acuna absolutely is going to be a big bump for them. That one other thing is his StatCast data is kind of mixed. He's giving up a lot of fly balls and soft contact, but he's also allowing a lot of barreled balls, which Acuna actually had the second most barreled balls before he got hurt last year. So he can absolutely tee one up today.
Oh, that would be a good home run call.
I thought about it, but went somewhere else.
Yep, so you'll have to wait and find out. And next up on the high-owned pitchers for today in daily fantasy, we've got Diamondbacks righty Zac Gallon versus the Marlins. He's about 37% owned on DraftKings, 13% on FanDuel. And interestingly enough, he made his major league debut in 2019 for Miami and has yet to face the Marlins until tonight. Also, something interesting in that trade that brought Jazz Chisholm over to the Marlins. So
who might have won you a bet on Friday?
Exactly. I just bring him up because he helped me win my prop bet on Friday. So we always love to mention Jazz whenever he's on the show. Hit the triple, drop the three. I don't know what that was, but that was what he did. It's a 3. Triple, right?
I like it. Yep, okay. Triple. So Gallon has been great this season. He has a 2.22 FIP. The combined K rate today looks like 25%. One thing, though, that I would like to kind of point out is I was looking at his numbers past versus this year, and he has been amazing this year. But then as far as his pitches, it doesn't look like a ton has changed.
Okay.
So there could be a little bit of regression in these numbers, that he has so far this year. The other thing is that Miami is top 5 versus righties in WRC plus, 6 in slugging and also batting average. So they can absolutely hit righties, and it's not by any means a cake matchup.
All right. So speaking of cake matchups, well, I don't know. These low-owned pitchers might have. Well, these matchups are tough. Braves lefty Max Fried going up against the Mets. That's not a cake matchup.
It's not.
What do you see from him?
But the Mets have been middle of the road in WRC plus against lefties. They're also bottom 10 in ISO and slugging, and so they haven't been hitting lefties super hard. So that's really kind of why I started going this way. Also, Fried is just a great pitcher. Him or Morton are the Braves' aces, but Fried is definitely outpitching him so far to start the season. He has a 2.6 FIP over his last 20, which is the lowest on the slate, and 23%.
That's the lowest on the slate?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And 23% combined K rate.
Yeah, and he hasn't given up more than 2 runs in his last 3 starts, so I like that play.
Yeah, he's a great pitcher. So
yeah, and I also looked. You mentioned the Mets and how they have the second highest batting average right now, but then it just kind of plummets a little bit when they face lefties. So like you mentioned,
they've been way better against righties.
Sure.
For sure.
So something to look for in that matchup. Maybe a little value there. Twins righty Chris Paddock at Baltimore. He's got a 3.68 ERA. Last game gave up 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts in 5 2/3 versus Detroit. And, of course, Baltimore hasn't exactly been crushing the baseball.
They have not. And this season, he has a 1.72 FIP right now, which is obviously way lower than it's going to stay. But it's something to point out that he's been good. Yeah. He's also almost been striking out 1 batter per inning. Baltimore strikes out at 25% versus righties, and they're bottom 10 versus righties. So with all of that combined, for his price, too, I think he's a great play with lower ownership.
Maybe even a strikeout prop or 2.
I looked at it.
You do?
I thought about it, but
I like
wasn't
those stats
straight
for
there.
it, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look now at some of the teams that'll be facing these pitchers and see, who are some people to target. Minnesota, they're at the top of the AL Central. They're at Baltimore, and they're going up against Tyler Wells, the right-hander for the Orioles. And Wells has given up a home run in 3 of 4 games. He tends not to make it too deep into his starts. Last game went 5 innings, and that was a season high for him. The Orioles bullpen, keep in mind, ranks 18th in ERA. What are you seeing from this matchup?
Yeah, Minnesota's been good offensively, not great. They're pretty much like 11 to 13th 13 area as far as like all of the offensive categories to righties. So they're good, not great. Wells, on the other hand, has been bad. 5.7 FIP, and then he's giving up 2.1 home runs per 9. One thing, though, is that the game is in Baltimore, which Baltimore has, because they moved the fences back and everything, it hasn't been giving up quite as many home runs as
always interesting to know.
years.
Make sure you check out the park factors before you do anything. And Houston versus Seattle, another high-owned stack. Seattle lefty Marco Gonzalez on the hill for them. He exited last game after being hit pretty hard in the wrist by a comebacker. 109-mile-an-hour shot off the bat of Harold Ramirez right to the left wrist, which is his pitching arm. So he's coming back tonight, though. It was just a contusion, so we'll see how he does. Prior to that, though, some inconsistency. He got shelled his first game, then had a great game that was actually against the Astros, only allowing 1 run in 7 innings. So what do you expect from him tonight?
That's kind of how he is. He's just a little bit of an inconsistent pitcher. Like, one thing that with him, his FIP is always way higher than his ERA. And he's just kind of one of those little anomalies like that. But Gonzalez is also averaging 2.6 home runs per 9 this year, but his career average is 1.3 per 9. So he could give up some less home runs than he has been. He's had good games versus Houston, but also Houston has some good BVP versus him, and 140 plate attempts. They're hitting .311 against him.
Yeah.
Houston against lefties is 19th in WRC plus, 20th in slugging, 17th in ISO. So they haven't been great against lefties.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Astros. They have kind of been a little disappointing this season.
They
haven't exactly been there, but you mentioned the BVP data, and I was looking that up, and it's something that I used for one of my picks today. But not a bad play, I guess.
I mean, it's fine. You really don't know what you're going to get. Yeah.
Fine is
Houston
the word
did hit Kikuchi, the lefty, very hard on Friday.
That you called.
So, yeah.
Props for that. All right, let's take a look at some lower owned stacks, maybe find a little value here for you. Yeah. Toronto going up against Jordan Montgomery. Of course, we love the Blue Jays bats. Even though you're putting a Yankee.
Even against the
trolling
Yankees.
Me with a Yankees pitcher. But what do you like about Toronto bats besides that they're awesome? I get it.
And going against the Yankees.
I get it.
So Toronto's going against a really hot team in the Yankees, but in 59 plate attempts, Montgomery is allowing a 359 average against the Yankees and a 226 ISO, and has given up 3 home runs. In 2021, he faced Toronto twice. He gave up 7 runs in 10 innings and allowed 2 home runs. And then Toronto is top 5 in ISO, slugging, average, pretty much everything.
Oh man! So you're saying the streak could come to an end tonight?
It might be a tough one for him.
Right.
But I mean, the Yankees have a fairly easy matchup.
I'm actually a little surprised this is low owned.
I am too. I think it's more of a price thing.
Okay.
Because a lot of the pitchers, I think a lot of people are going to pay up for pitching.
For pitching today.
Yeah.
All right, Seattle going up against Odorizzi. I feel like you've gone against him before in the past.
Quite a few times, I think.
And has had a tough start, but last outing, 1 earned run in 6 innings against the Rangers. What do you like about the Mariners matchup today?
So the Mariners are super expensive today, so it might be hard to stack them. But Odorizzi isn't good, hasn't been good. Hit 4.55 FIP. He doesn't allow a ton of home runs, but he is walking almost 5 batters per 9. So people are going to get on base, and it's just a matter of, they can have timely hitting and make it really count.
And I mean, I feel like you're the type of guy that if you have success picking against a pitcher, you're going to be like, I'm going to go against you until you prove it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely partly that as well. There's not a ton. I also almost put the Yankees here. Stripling's another pitcher that's kind of inconsistent. But I didn't want to go the same game with Toronto and Yankees. Yeah.
All right. Well, so lots of value plays for your daily fantasy. You can always download the LineStar app if you want to optimize your lineup, find some really good stats to help you make all your decisions for daily fantasy. Now it is time for our home run calls. And I want to start off this segment by rolling the clip from last Friday. We have to have our own home run dance when we get it right, I think. We'll have to incorporate that into the show. What do you think about that?
You're trying to get me to dance.
I am. So there you have it. We got to do a little shimmy.
Little home run shimmy.
Little home run shimmy. All
you
right,
just got me dancing.
That counts.
You just got me dancing.
We'll start.
I said you weren't going to get me to do it.
We start off with baby steps on this show. All right, so
then we'll go full on TikTok soon.
We'll be on TikTok soon. Make sure to sign up for us on TikTok as well for some dancing. I promised it there too. All right, let's take a look at our home run calls for today. And I know you mentioned when we were making our notes for today that you didn't love a lot of guys in terms of their home run potential for today. So who'd you end up going with?
So I ended up going with Byron Buxton. It's more so Tyler Wells than anything. The park factor is really the one minus here is I think I saw that Baltimore, it's like 0.4 home runs less than league average.
Sure. So,
and that's all because Baltimore moved the fences back and in some places made the fences higher as well. But Tyler Wells is allowing 2.1 home runs per 9. Buxton has a .329 ISO versus righties, while Wells is giving up a .218 ISO to righties. And he's given up 5.5% home runs to righties, so I'm rolling with Buxton.
Let's go Buxton. Let's continue the streak here. I'm going Houston Astros, Alex Bregman. He's going up against the lefty, Marco Gonzalez. And I know he hasn't had the most stellar start to the season, just a .230 batting average. However, he has great career numbers against Gonzalez, 310 versus him in 29 at-bats. Also, Bregman is so much better at home, 381 at home, which was surprising to me. I'd even also consider a prop for him. 1.5 bases prop is at 110 right now, or plus 110. So I'd consider that as well. It's not my prop of the day, but I think Bregman's going to be bringing some flavor to the juice box. That's what they call Minute Maid Park. Did you know
Makes
that?
sense. I did not know that. Learn something new every day.
All right. Now let's take a look at our prop bets of the day. Lots of great ones to choose from. Lots of great hitters coming up to the dish tonight against some mediocre pitching, right?
Yep, like Jordan Montgomery.
Oh, we're picking on him again.
We're going under.
His nickname is Gumby. Why can't you
under
him? All right,
15.5 outs for Jordan Montgomery. He's only done this twice this season out of 4 starts. He's only gone over twice.
Yeah, okay.
And then in his last 20 starts, he's only gone over 8 times. And all of them were against bad offenses and Boston. So he can do well against Boston.
Is you've actually got really good stats. You're not just trolling me.
I'm not just trolling you. So I'm saying Jordan Montgomery going under 15.5 outs.
Well, I'm going to take a Yankees for the positive. We're being positive about our Yankees. And I'm going Aaron Judge over 1.5 bases. Surprisingly, plus 100. I saw that. I kind of couldn't really resist. He has hit over that mark in about 60% of the games this season. Judge actually has a higher batting average versus righties. And his batting average on the road, though, I think this is where that plus money comes in. Batting average on the road, just 250. But in the last 7 days, come on, he's batting .391. Ross Stripling, yeah, he's been good this year. He's fared much better at home, but I just cannot pass up plus money on Aaron Judge right now. Sign me up. All rise. There we go. That's our prop for today. Remember, you can find all our stats at LineStarApp.com. Remember to download our app as well. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, and comment below if you want to see more dances. If maybe you've seen enough and you're like, no more of the dancing.
Also comment that, please.
Or if you want to see more on TikTok. Yes, you can follow us on there as well. That's going to do it for us today. Best of luck to you. And as always, bet responsibly, guys.
Bye.